I thank my colleague for yielding. I must say, Police Week was something that, when I was a prosecutor at the federal level and at the state level, was something I looked forward to. I worked closely with police officers, local, state, and federal. They worked together as brothers and sisters in coordination and cooperation with prosecutors. And in many instances, they had task forces where the federal and local worked together, knowing that that was the way that made them most effective. So it was deeply disappointing to see the bills that came through this week that are supposed to be honoring police officers for Police Week. And some of these came through the Judiciary Committee beforehand, which I sit on. And so I raised objections at the time with respect to this legislation, which was ignored. And so it's with a heavy heart, frankly, that I rise today, because I think it's very clear. I think one of the Republican speakers a few minutes ago noted that, I think he said 370 police officers have been shot. And it's clear that one of the greatest dangers police officers face on the street is from guns. And so the irony of the fact that the legislation that the Republicans have proposed do nothing about guns, in fact, don't even mention them in most cases, is really shocking. Now, my colleague from Massachusetts just mentioned a few minutes ago the Bipartisan Background Checks Act, H.R. 715, and he noted that the sponsor of that is a Republican, but he's the only Republican to join this bill. The other of the 207 co-sponsors are all Democrats, and I think that speaks volumes about where the Republicans are these days on this kind of issue. The H.R. 2870, the Raise the Age Act, which is aimed at bolstering public safety by raising the age for individuals to buy assault weapons from 18 to 21. Common sense legislation that's already 21 for handguns. Why wouldn't we do it for assault weapons? Well, guess what? We don't have one Republican co-sponsor for that legislation. And another example, H.R. 4992, that goes to ghost guns. And the issue about ghost guns is that they're totally untraceable firearms. So they've become the weapon of choice for criminals across the country, blue states, red states, Democratic and Republican jurisdictions alike. Zero Republican co-sponsors for that legislation. So it's with, I say, great disappointment that we come here today and we speak about Police Week, and we ought to be doing things to protect police officers from dangers on the street. But absolutely nothing that's in the legislative package that's being proposed would do that. And just one last point before I yield back. The defund language, none of that's pending legislation with respect to police in the Congress right now. The only defund language that I've seen right now is defund ATF
Gentleman's
and FBI.
Time. Gentleman's time
I yield the
expired.
gentleman an additional 1 minute.
I thank the gentleman. Those are sponsored by Republicans. The defund the ATF bill is one sentence long. And so when I raised the question with the gentleman who proposed it in the committee, I said, how in the world is that supposed to work? How would you defund the entire ATF knowing that we've got gun cases pending there now, and same with the FBI, international prosecutions, cartels and the like, you would just shut them down like that? That's what those bills would do. Talk about irresponsible. That's what that proposal is right now. So let's get serious. We're facing major challenges. By the way, crime's going down in cities across the country. You mentioned the 2019 statistics. You stay with 2019 because violent crime has been going down in jurisdictions, including the District of Columbia, this year as well. So let's get serious. Let's focus on doing things that really help protect police officers and make the most out of Police Week. And with that, I yield back to my colleague.
Zone, and deployment of our country. Anybody in the Democratic side?
Mr. Steube, what's the purpose of the question? My father, no, let me finish. Let me finish.
Because I'm going to make a point and you're taking my time. So I will yield to any member who
because I'm offended at your suggestion that somehow if we've not served in a combat zone, that we don't care about protecting the lives of our constituents.
Has nothing to do about how you
to me. And for our family members who have lost blood, they should be respected.
Reclaiming my time. So, Mr. Chairman, I'd like 40 seconds.
I've seen my constituents die in battle.
It's Mr. Steube's time. Gentleman is recognized.
And I will ask for 40 additional seconds that I was taken. Okay, so I served in Operation Iraqi Freedom. I served in the Army, and there's a lot of talk in Washington about weapons of war. And my purpose of yielding to one of my colleagues who may have served was to ask them a specific question of what type of firearm were you issued when you were deployed. And the answer to that question is a true what would be defined as a weapon actually used in war, has a selector switch on it for fully automatic, 3-round burst, and semi-automatic. So when I deployed in 2006 in Operation Iraqi Freedom, we were issued M4s in the United States Army. Those M4s had a selector switch on them. Those selector switch allow you to have fully automatic, 3-round burst, or semi-automatic. Those firearms are not allowed for purchase in the United States today. So this cascading of weapons of war, what I was issued, and again, I would ask any person that served in a deployed environment, you are issued weapons that allow for fully automatic and 3-round burst. That is not available for purchase in the United States, and that is not what the Democrats are attempting to ban today because that's already banned. What we're talking about is a semi-automatic rifle that only is used in a semi-automatic form. So behind me is a typical AR platform weapon, and you can't see it because it's on this side, not the other side, that has a selector switch on it. That selector switch is only for fire or not fire, safe or not safe, and that is for a semi-matic operation of the weapon, which means every time I depress the trigger, a round comes out of the firearm. All right, next slide, and just move it over. This is the most popular handgun in the United States that was purchased is the Glock 19. It functions in exactly the same way as this rifle. It's a semi-automatic, just like that's a semi-automatic. The rifles not available for purchase don't have a selector switch for 3-round bursts or fully auto. This is a semi-automatic handgun. As quick as I depress the trigger of this Glock 19, a round comes out of the chamber. The functionality between that weapon and this weapon are exactly identical. There is no difference. So you're banning a class of weapons that you don't like the look of, not because of functionality, not because of how fast a round comes out of the weapon, just because you don't like the way that they look, because they function exactly the same. Now move this one over one. So now this is a Glock 19. Glock 19 comes with a 15-round magazine, which under this bill is legal, although it's interesting that a couple weeks ago, you banned 10-round magazines, and then you changed it to a 15-round magazine. It's interesting to understand the thought process there, but that is for another time. This is a 6-hour P320, which some of you probably saw in one of the hearings on the magazine bans. I showed my P320. This comes with a 20-round magazine. So under this bill, because it has a 15-round magazine ban, this gun would be banned because you wouldn't be able to use it. Again, it functions exactly the same as that gun. It functions exactly the same. As fast as you depress the trigger, is as fast as a round comes out. So now the next one. So that gun would be banned. That would be okay because you can put a 15-round magazine in it. This is a lever action. Under this bill, lever actions apparently are okay, but semi-automatic AR platform rifles are not okay. So we're going to discriminate against the type of firearms that we're going to use, despite the fact that the functionality is the same. The only difference here is after you depress the trigger and a round comes out, you have to reload using the lever action, which saves you maybe half of a second. The next one, which is also legal, is a tubular. This is a tubular 22, which, again, and Mr. Massey did a good job of highlighting how ridiculous the calibers of the bullets are. The Democratic majority is discriminating against some of the most popular weapons in the United States simply because they don't like the way they look, not because of the way they function. And there are so many Americans that are confused when they see the semi-automatic rifle that the Democrats want to ban as being fully automatic. It's not. You can't purchase that. It's illegal. It is not a weapon of war. A weapon of war has a fully automatic switch or a 3-round burst. I yield back the remainder of my time.
Gentleman yields back. For what purpose does the gentlelady from Texas seek recognition?
Mr. Chairman, I move to strike the last word.
Gentlelady is recognized.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I would